Alright, I have to film these ones in 1080p. I'm so used to filming 4K now, but man, it takes forever to render these videos in 4K, and to be fair, it's just me standing here with a bunch of posters. It's a lot easier to just not do it in 4K. Usually I've been rendering straight to 1080, but of course the original file sizes are still really large. It's annoying. Anyway, that feels really zoomed in. It isn't, but okay, cool. So, it's December. What a month. We start with Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. I gave it 4 stars. This is a rewatch. Turns out my Blu-ray actually comes with the director's cut, which I'm yet to watch. I would like to watch it, because I really like the theatrical cut. I gave it 4 stars. Highly recommend it. Very funny. If you're big on musical biopics, you won't be after this. Then on the second, I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance, because I felt like watching a Die Hard movie that I hadn't seen for several years. So much so, it's my first time logging on Letterboxd. 4 stars, got the Blu-ray. You can't go wrong. I forgot it was a McTiernan film. I'm thinking, man, it's too bad this isn't a McTiernan film. And then his name popped up at the end. I'm like thinking, shit, I'm really out of whack these days. It's a fucking solid flick. I double featured that with The Ward from 2010, which I talked about in my John Carpenter video. I gave it 2 stars. It's my least favorite Carpenter film. Go check out my 40-odd minute long video where I talk about his films post-1992. Good God. On the third, I watched the Criterion 4K of Winchester 73 from 1950. This is a Jimmy Stewart film. I gave it 4.5 stars. Just a really interesting film about a gun going from hand to hand to different people, all while Jimmy Stewart's trying to goddamn chase that gun. But he's not chasing the gun, he's chasing the guy who killed his dad, who stole the gun from him. Really good. Surprisingly, the 4K from Criterion has no HDR or Dolby Vision grade, which is, I've never seen that on a 4K from Criterion. I don't really care for 4K UHDs of black and white films to begin with. Most of the time, I don't really care to see that. Like, Citizen Kane, worthwhile. A Western, not usually, unless it's, like, really, really well shot, like a John Ford film, but it still looked incredible, so I can't go wrong. Or maybe a Kurosawa film. Those films are great on 4K. The ones that really have dynamic range in the image, not just desert. On the 5th, I must have watched something on the 4th. Oh, I watched the first 6 episodes of... maybe 7 episodes of Pluribus, because I've got my Apple TV Plus subscription. Highly recommend Pluribus. Insane. Very good. Very entertaining. Maybe that was on the 5th as well. I can't remember what I did on the 4th. It doesn't matter. But it's great. You should watch Pluribus. It's really interesting. On the 5th, I watched Shin Godzilla. This is the rewatch. Watched it on the UHD disc. Turns out the orthochromatic version is just black and white. And to be honest, I could have watched that, but I wanted to make sure my 4K disc had no issues. And it looked good. Not the best 4K I've ever seen, but fuck, it's the best way to watch the film, so I'm not going to go wrong there. So, I love it. It's one of my favorite Godzillas. I gave it 4.5 stars. I don't know if I'm ever going to give it 5. I don't know what I'd need to give it that extra half star. I don't know what it is. Still, maybe a sequel. On the 6th, we watched Frank on the Hooker, which I did give 5 stars. This is the 1990 film that we watched at the Cinemaniacs. It was great. It was a Christmas special for the Cinemaniacs. Caitlin Collins did the presentation. I introduced her, which was wonderful, because it's the second time doing that. This time I had much less anxiety. It's great. There'll be a video for the Patreons, for the Cinemaniacs Patreon that I filmed on that day. I'm still yet to edit it, but there you go. Good film, though. Highly recommend it. Very good stuff. On the 7th, I watched Lake Mungo Revisited. This is 3 hours and 45 minutes. It's a documentary about the movie Lake Mungo. Again, they revisit it. Came out in 2008. This one came out in 2025. Comes with the 4K of Lake Mungo from Umbrella. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's very long. Like, the benefit is it's very in-depth, but it is very long. It feels long, which, I mean, to be fair, why not? They do break it up into 4-part chapters. They even say it's a 4-part documentary. So realistically, if you want to break it up, you can. There's no harm in breaking it up. But I just figured it's a Sunday. I'm going to watch this whole fucking thing. So I did. So yeah. On the 8th, I watched Tremors 2 Aftershocks from 1996. I've got the Arrow Video 4K restoration, not the UHD. Don't think I'll ever watch this on UHD. I'm surprised I bought this version, which is the limited edition, but it was $35 during the movie market the other week. Yeah, it's fine. I gave it 3 stars. I did give it a like, because I'm like, I did enjoy it. It's just, the first one's so good. The first one's just literally a perfect movie, and this one's just like, yeah, it's fine. Bunch of guys shooting up worms. That's about it. Sure, why not? I don't know why it's 100 minutes, but, well, I don't know, whatever. I can't imagine watching the sequels, though. If this is the area that it's going to go for, unless one of them is at least slightly better, I can't imagine watching any more of these films. I would like to, because I do like watching series of films, but I'd have to find the Blu-ray box set one day, and I'm just not going to get around to doing that anytime soon. On the 9th, I needed to calm the fuck down, so I watched double-featured Sense and Sensibility from 1995, the 4K UHD, which was really interesting. I've never seen it before. Fucking solid romance, but I'm like thinking it's a romantic drama, and the fact that my mum was like, you need to stop watching horror films and calm the fuck down, you're too stressed. So she suggested that. I watched the 4K that's part of the Columbia set, and lo and behold, that film is also quite stressful. I'm like, oh my god, are they gonna fuck or not? What's going on? I don't understand. Just talk. Stop being stupid and talk. Oh my god, romances, they're crazy. But it's really good. Very beautifully shot. The 4K looks immaculate. I also double featured that with In and Out from 1997. This is the 4K from Kino Lorber, a 4K I wouldn't say is immaculate, but it's designed to look murkier and darker. But it's fun. It's a good queer comedy about a teacher in buttfuck nowhere America getting outed on national television at the Oscars that he's gay, and he's like, I'm gay? And everyone else is like, you're gay? And he's like, I'm not gay. And he's like, maybe I am. I mean, you make out of Tom Selleck, you'll turn gay. It's fine. It's normal. It's perfectly healthy. Highly recommend it though. Really fun. Just a really fun comedy in general. You know, about acceptance. You could intercut being gay with literally anything else. It could be the black person in the middle of a white town kind of deal. Except, I mean, they don't say any slurs. They should have, but they didn't. Man, I missed it when they used to say the slurs in movies. Not racial slurs, just gay slurs, because it's just, it gives you a period of time. I don't advocate for it. I'm queer. I don't like slurs, but it gives it a dynamic to the film. There's no person in the film who's outright homophobic to that degree. It's just Bob Newhart, and he just can't even say the word like homosexual. So it's like, oh, we're doing that. All right, fine, whatever. PG rating it is. And on the 10th, I watched Lake Mungo. I watched the 4K UHD. It's one of my favourite Australian horror films. I gave it 4.5 stars. I did a whole deep dive unboxing into the set from Umbrella, so I highly recommend watching that with a film review attached to it. And what else did I watch? Let's wrap going through this quick. It's the new year. On the 11th, I did a double feature of Ellen McKay, the new James L. Brooks film. This one was fine. I've heard so many negative things about it, and I'm kind of, in a way, thankful I already watched it before all the huge negative feedback came in, mostly from Americans. God forbid a movie about American politics be controversial to Americans. Yeah, it's not great. I gave it 3 stars because it's just kind of average. It's funny, I'll give it that. The only thing that I can really give it as a takeaway is that it was funny quite often, but aside from that, it was me, my mate Guy, and some random woman in a cinema, so no one's watching this, at least in Australian theatres, and this is like 7 o'clock on a Thursday. Yeah, I don't know, man. Even my review saying Marge Simpson's narrated yet another This Is Lisa in the Future episode, because it's done by the guy who created The Simpsons. Woody Harrelson looks like Homer Simpson, and Marge Simpson, the actress who plays her, narrates the film. I got 15 likes. It's kind of crazy. It's one of my most liked reviews. It's nuts. Of all films, that? Jesus. Anyway, to cleanse the palate, I went home and chucked on the Criterion Channel and watched Irma Vep from 1996. This film, I stupidly disillusioned myself into thinking it was actually an action film with Maggie Cheung, but it isn't. It is written and directed by Olivia Assayas. Olivia Assayas, who did I've seen his other film, The Personal Shopper, which was also very good. And this is basically a film about making a film, about a French director who's like lost his touch and hires a Hong Kong actress, Maggie Cheung, who plays herself, to remake a film from from 1915, like called The Vampires, because like Les Vampires is an anagram for Irma Vep, or vampire is I think it's vampire is the anagram, which is made heavy in the film. It's interesting. I gave it 4 stars. It's really well shot and acted. It's got some really good scenes to it, but it is just a really quite a hell of an analysis of like French cinema by the time of the 90s. And they're very on the nose about some of those factors because characters are talking to each other about it. She gets interviewed at one section literally about that. Like, oh, you know, you're working with this French director who's just completely lost touch. Don't you see that? And she's like, no, really, I liked what he showed me, but what she saw was like his older films which had no subtitles, so all she saw was just pretty images, and that's what convinced her to make the movie. It's interesting. I would recommend it. On the 12th, I watched Basic Instinct. I gave that 4 stars, watched the UHD, which I'd never seen the film before, God forbid. And I double featured it with Basic Instinct Sex, Death and Stone, which is a 2020 documentary featured on the 4K disc, which is like 50 minutes of the cast and crew talking about the film. And it's really interesting. It's a really interesting film in general for Basic Instinct, one of those classics. Man, the youth of today would not appreciate this because the sex is very relevant to the plot. It literally opens, as some of you will probably know, on a sex scene, and then it's like, hey, this is also the inciting incident of the movie. You can't remove this stuff from the film. But hell, it started a craze of 90s erotic thrillers, so hooray. Some of those are pretty good. On the 13th, I went and saw Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park from 1978. This one was presented at the Astor Theatre. John Harrison, who wrote a book on Kiss, Creatures of the Screen, did a introduction with a little slideshow. He gave a bunch of context for the film, a little reel of stuff for like fans of Kiss through the 70s and 80s and whatever, all kinds of like trading cards and gum and figurines and all kinds of stuff. A lot of cute little ads. Really showcasing how they merchandise the shit out of Kiss, including having these wigs that were rainbow coloured, which had nothing to do with Kiss, but for some reason was Kiss branded. Very strange. He then proceeded to show us 2 music clips that apparently initially preceded the Australian viewings, or maybe the TV viewing of, in America, of this film, because this film has 2 different names: Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, or Kiss in Attack of the Phantoms. It's awful. I gave it 1 star. As much as I enjoyed part of watching it, the opening sequence is hilarious, which John had shown us previously during his roller coaster screening at Cinemaniac, so when I was watching it, I'm like, I've seen this before, and then I'm like, oh, I remember now, and it's great. Seeing that on the big screen is a fucking hoot and holler. The rest of the movie, really boring as shit. Stupid, poorly plotted, bad characters, that even when Kiss do show up, it's just like, what is this? It feels like a really bad episode of Scooby-Doo, because it's like Scooby-Doo without Scooby-Doo. And none of the Mystery Gang are there either. It's just one girl, her boyfriend's now a robot. What the hell's going on? Apparently Kiss are gods. They have some kind of powers because they have these totems and shit. It's absolutely insane. I watched it with Helene and Caitlin, and Helene hated it. She said after it that she was rolling her eyes during most of the film because she's just like, what the fuck is this? Caitlin and I just gave in. We were just fucking cacking ourselves. So it was very humorous. We did enjoy it with a crowd of passionate Kiss fans who also were laughing at just how stupid the movie was. Like, it's not even a so bad it's good. It's just bad, but it is quite funny because of how bad it is. A lot of weird shit just happens. Yeah. But because Helene wanted to watch a good film after that, she was like, hey, let's watch Carrie. What a picture. We watched Carrie right after. Well, not after. I actually went to a work function with her. I got my new car the same day. Got my new car, drove the Astor, watched this Kiss movie, drove with Helene to another place in St Kilda, a pub, to see my colleagues for 2 hours because it was only 2 hours of parking. I'm like, I'm not staying for more than 2 hours. Drove all the way back home to then watch Carrie, which I gave 5 stars. Tremendous film. Obviously great. The Arrow 4K still looks fantastic, just like it did when I watched it last year. But Helene had never seen it, so there we go. She didn't even know what it was about. She just wanted to watch it. Because it was like part of like Vulture's like top 10 horror films of all time, or in their top 100 or some shit, and she wanted to watch it because of that. Hooray, she's been influenced by Instagram. Good God. Maybe that's a good thing for once. Doesn't very rarely happens, but you know, once in a blue moon. And she really liked it, which is great. And while I was watching it, all I could think about was American Psycho. So I'm like, hey, we're watching American Psycho after this. They were also screening it at the Astor the same day as a double feature of American Psycho in 4K and American Psycho on VHS. I just watched the UHD because I have the 4K here, the Steelbook, the old Steelbook, not the new one that apparently needs a replacement disc. I hadn't seen the UHD at all. At least I'm pretty sure I hadn't. The last time I logged the film was in 2020, and I got the Steelbook in 2022. So I finally got to watch the UHD. Still looked incredible. Very funny film. I gave it 4.5 stars. Helene did not get it, which is fine. She was laughing with me when I was laughing, so I think she understood that some of it was funny, or she was just like, maybe it's funny because he's laughing. I don't know. But she understood some of the more obvious satirical parts of like when Patrick Bateman is going through like his resume of when he's washing, when he's showering and everything, and all the little products that he's using and everything. And she's understanding that, but the deeper meanings to the film weren't as apparent. But yeah, I think it's an excellent film. On the 14th, she wanted to watch The Ugly Stepsister, so we watched that. Rented it for $7 on Apple TV, which I would recommend because the 4K streaming on Apple TV is actually really good. I just currently have an open subscription for that, so I'm like, cool, we're going to rent it through there and not Amazon, because fuck Amazon. And it was really good. We didn't expect it to be in Norwegian. Who would have thought it? But it basically is the Cinderella story, but more from the point of view of the stepsister and how much stuff they put her through to make her look pretty and presentable and everything. And it is a grotesque body horror film, which I wasn't really in the mood for. Not gonna lie, a lot of the body horror stuff was actually upsetting me. I literally had to stand up and just stand here and watch it like this, because I'm just like, I couldn't cope sitting down. Still watched the whole thing. Really good though. I gave it 4 stars. I would genuinely watch this again. I do believe Second Sight's meant to be doing a 4K, and that could be really, really cool because it is a beautiful film. Immaculate production design. It feels like a film that was shot 40 years ago. Like, you could double feature this with the 1978 version of Beauty and the Beast, and you'd have an excellent double feature on your hands. Would recommend. And then because we're adjusting the room, the theatre room, because I'm getting a new shelf courtesy of her for Christmas. So I was like, oh, we'll just take some stuff down while we have some background noise on. The background noise, chucked on Netflix, was Kath and Kim. But not Kath and Kim, the Kath and Kim Code with a DA. From 2005, this is basically their Christmas special / film, TV movie, which we've definitely both seen before, because watching that, I'm like, I've seen this before. I saw it when it came out 20 years ago. Holy shit. I am surprised I remembered as much of it as I did, but it was still absolutely hilarious. Helene fucking cacked herself. She was loving it. Highly recommend it. If you want a good Aussie Christmas special, watch that. You don't need to have a lot of context for the TV show, because it's not set up in a way to be like, oh, here's for newcomers. Like, they clearly are like, we have our audience, we know who's going to watch this, and even if you don't know, they don't explain stuff. They don't need to. Like, it's very normal, whilst also not being normal, because it's a satire. I gave that 4 stars as well. I would highly recommend that if you're interested in a fun Christmas viewing, but given it's now January, sorry, maybe next year. Maybe this year. Haha. For you, but not for me. Anyway, what else did we watch? Next up we have, on the 15th, is Misery from 1990. This is the Scream Factory Blu-ray release. I watched it because Rob Reiner had passed away, and I'd seen some of my favourites of his already this year, so I figured, look, I haven't seen Misery yet, and, you know, when one of your favourite directors dies, watching a movie called Misery seems almost kind of poetic. So it was really good. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's an excellent film. Terrible loss, basically. On the 16th, I went to the Astor with my mate Guy. We did a double feature of Koyonoskatsi. That one, Koyonoskatsi. This was excellent. I had never seen this before, and I, seen it front row in the, like, at the Astor. It's got the 2 levels. The top level is always the best one to go for. And in the front row, just having it completely encapsulate your vision, it is absolutely breathtaking. I gave it 5 stars. I think it's one of the best kind of pseudo-docos, experimental films that you can get, and to watch it in a theater where everyone is just like, you're just immersed in the big screen with the big sound and with like no other distractions, like no one's on their phones, no one's talking, it's just incredible. My mate Guy did occasionally turn to me and he's like, oh, check this part out, because there were so many good bits, and he'd seen it like twice by that stage. So but it was a double feature with Metropolis from 2001, which neither of us had seen. I've had the Blu-ray since the pandemic, and I just have never gotten around to watching it. This is the 2001 version, the one that's based on a, what do you call it, manga by Osamu Tezuka, who basically, as my mate Guy mentioned, he wanted to watch the original film but didn't get the chance, but saw the poster and had an idea of what it was about, so he just did a manga, and then that manga was adapted into this. I think it's really good. Like, it blends its 2D and 3D animation really well. I think better than the Ghost in the Shell 2 does. Ghost in the Shell Innocence. The characters, I feel like their designs are the only low point of the film, because they look like they're from Astro Boy, because of course the guy who did the manga did Astro Boy, so that's where they got those designs from. But the city looks great, everything else looks really good. It's a very interesting story. It's quite a bit long in its own right, like it felt long pacing wise, but I feel like I preferred the first half of the film more than the second half. My mate Guy loved the second half, so interesting. I still recommend it, definitely. It's a very different film to the Fritz Lang version, so yeah, there's not really much of a comparison. You're not really watching them as oh wow, this is a bad remake or anything. It's like, because it's not. It's an adaptation of a manga based on the idea of the poster of the original film. So yeah. Anyway, got some good steampunky vibes. On the 17th, I watched The Mask, which I gave 3 stars. This is a film that I really want to love a lot more. This is the new 4K from Arrow, which looks great, but it does get to a stage where you're like, did I really need to buy that? Probably not. I mostly bought it for Alexandra Helen Nicholas's written essay, hence I got the limited edition, but it is a good release. Like, it is the definitive release of the film, so if you're going to get the film, you're going to get it from Arrow, and I would recommend it. It just depends if you like the film or not. I've never loved it. I had watched it once as a kid, and I think I enjoyed it then. I watched it a couple of years ago with my partner, because she'd always wanted to watch it, and I have a 2-pack of it with Dumb and Dumber. And I do think it might be one of Jim Carrey's best films, in that kind of cartoonish type of film that he did back then. But yeah, I don't love, like, you got to have the right mindset and be ready to go and watch a live action cartoon for basically any one of his films. Same with the Ace Ventura films and whatnot. So same with Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, I don't know. But I double featured that with Bad Biology from 2008. That one was, it was okay. I gave it 2.5 stars. It's probably, I don't think it's Frank Henlotter's weakest film. Frank Henlotter's weakest film. I think it's one of his weakest films. He doesn't have very many. It's definitely better than Basket Case 3. I really like the first half of it. It is a very bizarre film. I watched the 4K from Severin, which I would recommend. It's a pretty good 4K. Not the best, but better than any other version that exists for the film. It's a really weird, very highly sexual film, mostly because the first half is about a girl who has like 7 clits, who basically keeps fucking a bunch of guys and having weird mutant babies and stuff. It's very strange. It's Henenlotted. Like, if you've seen Basket Case, if you've seen Frankenhooker, Brain Damage, you kind of know what you're getting into, and luckily I've seen all of those films, so I knew what I was getting into. But the second half of the film very much so lost me, because it then focuses on a different character who has a different sexual problem, and you know exactly where it's going to end and what's going to happen in the end, and it just kind of takes a long time to get there. And then when it does, it just is a bit abrupt and stupid. So I don't know. I wasn't big on it. I would probably watch it again, preferably without anyone at home, because when you have a girl constantly orgasming on your TV, it can sound a bit concerning, especially when the mutant penis shows up. So, be warned. Not a film for the kiddies. On the 18th, I watched Holiday Inn. I don't know. I got the Blu-ray recently. I thought it was fine. It has benefits and low points. The low points is the whole blackface number. Cut that out of the film, it's a pretty good film. Sure, there's context for why it happens. Like, I don't think anyone in my audience is going to say, no, they should have blackface in movies. I know it's a time period and stuff. I'm not going to... I'm very understanding of that, but it depends on, like... I don't know, it's like a character being just a bit too racist. Does it need to be there or whatever? Like, there's got to be a narrative reason for it. And at least for this film, which I'll give it some kind of props to, they choose to wear blackface to disguise the girl so that Fred Astaire's character doesn't recognize her during her number. Which is really funny, because he never sees her the whole time, even during the number. He's off trying to find her and doesn't know that she's in the show. So it becomes useless. But, like, I don't know, would it have been better if they had it dressed up like, I don't know, Native Americans or something? Like, they would have done something as racially insensitive to disguise her, and they probably would have still done some kind of painted face. So, it's the very kind of over-the-top, very racist kind of blackface with the prominent white smile and the dangly hair. It's very bad. But it's to support Lincoln Day. So it's literally it's because it's a film about holidays. It's at one inn and they do shows every single holiday so that people can come stay there for that holiday, whatever. And you get a show and a dance and whatever. And because for Lincoln's birthday, they decided, oh, well, he freed the slaves, so let's all dress up in blackface and sing about how he's freed the slaves. So... yeah, it's not we're doing blackface because we don't have black actors. It's we're doing blackface because we want to pretend that we're black. It's very weird. I don't know. It sucks that that's the main takeaway from the film. It does have some good musical numbers. You got the original version of White Christmas because Bing Crosby is the main character next to Fred Astaire. It has a good cast. The idea is good. The songs are pretty decent. I give it props for what it does for the first half of the film. I love the final act. I think the final act is really good because the whole idea of the Holiday Inn becomes a premise for a movie, and they literally go to a set which is identical to the movie set because it's a set within a set, and it's good. I really like the ending. It's just that you just have that one number that, honestly, if you cut that out of the movie, it doesn't change anything. I'm not saying you should, because of course censorship is bad, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I kind of wish I enjoyed it more, especially because I watched a movie that's very similar to it, like, yesterday, that is worth noting, but we'll get back to that. So I gave that 3 stars. On the 19th, I introduced my partner to Home Alone, because she'd never seen it before. I gave it 4 stars. I don't know if I would ever give this more than 4 stars. I do enjoy it quite a lot, and rewatching it, especially on 4K, it looks great. The fact that my partner had never seen it is kind of crazy, but I wasn't really in the mood to watch it, but I'm also like, oh, fuck it. It's a Christmas film, she's never seen it. Why not? We'd just gone out to see a live show, and we wanted to watch the movie. I was going to just watch, because it was Kath and Kim live show, I'm like, we could just watch Kath and Kim, but then she wanted to watch Home Alone, so I'm like, alright, let's do that. I've got the 4K, let's do that. Lost in New York is better. We didn't get around to watching that, though, because on the 20th, we watched Avatar: Fire and Ash. This was great. I really liked this. I like all the Avatar films. I think the first one's probably the weakest one, both in terms of how the effects have held up, and also the fact that the story's pretty generic. In all regards, the story for all of them is pretty generic, but I don't really give a shit. You need to have something for everyone to be able to kind of relate to or understand. It doesn't need to be immensely complex, so that people can enjoy the world and the characters and the visuals and everything. And it is immense, and it is beautiful, and I do prefer currently Way of Water to Fire and Ash. I think it's got better emotional beats, and it just has better highlights in the movie, and of course that's the first time you saw these better looking effects, especially that film on 4K looks incredible. This time I obviously watched Fire and Ash 3D IMAX, which was fine. I don't love the 3D, but it is what it is. At least the glasses hook over my glasses, which is a very interesting choice. The best 3D glasses I've ever experienced. Even though I'm pretty sure the right eye went black. I don't know if that was the lens, if it was the projection. I've had different disputes from different people. It felt like it was the lenses just turned off, which is weird because they're not powered by anything, so I don't really understand how that works. But I liked it, but there was a part where it felt like, oh, this is an appropriate end for the movie, which was basically when Neytiri goes to save Jake from the humans base, and it's very destructive, explosive, and whatever, and you kind of have all your emotional catharsis in that section, especially the scene that comes right after it with Spider. But then after that, his name isn't Spider, was it? They call him Monkey Boy. I'm pretty sure it is Spider. Yes, it is. People don't like Spider for some reason. Yeah, I from then on, the rest of the movie is like, why is this happening? I guess this is like if this is the last movie, this is the roundup, whatever, which is fine. It was still fine. But of course, Stephen Lang in it is terrific. He's the highlight of the movie, with the woman who plays Varang, Una Chaplin. Very good. They were excellent in the film. They were like the highlight of the film for me, which is great. So, yay. I wouldn't mind another Avatar film. I'll give it that, though. So, I'm still enjoying these films. On the 21st, I watched Dial Code Santa Claus. This is a 1989 film, the Vinegar Syndrome 4K. I gave it 4 stars. It precedes Home Alone by a year. It's literally the same movie. It's about a kid who's home alone, except technically he's got his grandpa there, so he's not really home alone. And he has to protect his house from people breaking in. Except instead of this being 2 goofballs who are breaking into suburban household in the 90s, the big 2-story mansion, this is still a mansion. It is a kid who has a lot of toys in a mansion because his mum's a CEO of a toy company, and also his dad really liked toys, and he's got a whole secret room full of his dad's toys and his grandfather's toys, but like on his dad's side. He has to take care of his grandfather, and he's basically like Rambo. It's very inspired by Rambo as well. It also precedes John Wick by 20-odd years, obviously. So that's very pivotal to the plot. But that's because instead of there being 2 goofball people trying to break in and steal stuff, it's one man taking revenge against the kid because he wants to be accepted by people, and they don't accept him. So then he dons the costume of Santa Claus as working for the kid's mother at the toy place, but then one girl's like, you're not Santa Claus, and rips off his beard. He abuses the kid because that's what you do. Good idea. The mother fires him. He knows who she is. He knows where she lives. He goes to her place, which is where the kid is, and tries to murder the kid and the grandfather. He does kill other people, and he's dressed up as Santa Claus the whole time. It's really intense sometimes, quite fun and other times. A bit too much slow motion for my part. A lot of the really great parts where they utilize traps and stuff, which were set up early on, like there's a lot of great setups and payoffs. A lot of the payoffs are paid off in slow motion, and I think it ruins the effect. But it's great. It's also French. It's depressing. I highly recommend it. It's just the most traumatic Christmas film you could watch, and I'm like, this is not for children because it's like got blood and gore and violence. But also, I don't know, maybe. I wouldn't, but I would recommend it to adults for certain. It's very interesting. I then watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out from 1989. Oh, same year. Wow. This is a TV film, basically. It's in 4:3. It stars 2 people who would end up being in Twin Peaks the same year. It's really bad. I have the Vestron collection, which has 3, 4, and 5. I plan to watch 4 and 5 before Christmas. It's currently the 23rd that I'm filming this part of the video. I would not recommend this film. Everyone says it's awful. It is awful. It's definitely... It makes part 2 look like a 5-star picture. And that's saying a lot, because part 2 isn't good, but then it is good. And this one just is never really good. The acting is atrocious. It's really weirdly shot. It's really weirdly edited. It's just not good. The Vestron Blu-ray looks really good though, and it does have a commentary about Jarrett Garn, which was nice. So, yeah, I would recommend the Vestron collection though. It's definitely the best way to get the 3, 4, and 5. 101 Films has a good release for 1 and 2. Or you can spend like $180 to get the one film from imprint. How about that? On the 22nd, I watched White Christmas. This one I gave 4 stars. This one I definitely enjoyed a lot more than Holiday Inn. I do think Holiday Inn is kind of a better film, because its musical numbers are more memorable. Fred Astaire is great. He has a whole number where he's got firecrackers and stuff, so to some degree, if I'm in a better mood for it, that's the movie I feel like I'd choose more. Just skip over the blackface number, whatever. But this is the film that came out 12 years later, still featuring Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye. The benefit of this film is you've also got Rosemary Clooney and Vera Ellen. The benefit of this film is it looks incredible. It's obviously 12 years later, so you get widescreen. It's the first VistaVision film. It's in Technicolor. It looks incredible. And it's still just really fun. It doesn't have the memorable musical numbers. Again, it's fine in its musical numbers and its characters. I will give it the props of the characters gel really well and it looks incredible. And the sentimentality within the last 10 to 15 minutes is very much so felt. Given that it starts during 1944, during the war, where it's Christmas Eve, they're singing about Christmas, whatever, because White Christmas is the song and they use it twice in the movie. And the film is actually about the soldiers commemorating their leader who's leaving them on Christmas Eve, who then, because this is Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye, who Danny Kaye saves Bing Crosby's life 10 minutes later, whatever, they end up getting into show and dance stuff. So for the next 10 years, they're doing that. And then they meet the 2 girls, go to Vermont for a white Christmas, and it turns out it's actually like 90 degrees, so there's no snow at all. And the place that's there, which is actually their colonel, whatever, their captain, I don't remember what the position is, but their higher ranking guy who retired, he is has sunk all of his money into this place, and he's getting no profit out of it because no one's coming because it's a hot summer. I know what that feels like. Even though right now it's like the coldest summer I've ever experienced, next to when I actually went to Europe for that one summer, which wasn't summer, it was winter because it was Christmas. And that was White Christmas. Hey, how about that? And so, of course, yeah, it's an alright film, and it's pacing and everything, but it has some 1 or 2 very forced narrative points, but for the most part, it's still really interesting. It works really well. The musical numbers are good. And again, it has that sentimentality by the end of it. It's very pro-military, but at the same time, it's more of a reflection of the people who served in the Second World War rather than saying you should join the war. Even the character who wants to go back to the war, they say, that's a good laugh. You did great when you're in the war. Do not come back. Enjoy your life. He obviously only wants to go back because this is the captain, colonel, whatever, is just because his life is kind of turning to shit now because he's about to go broke because this place isn't making money. So, of course, the show you guys are like, hey, we're going to put on a show and it's going to be great for this guy. And it works out really well. So I think it has that strength for the sentimentality. I think the last act of Holiday Inn is far superior because the meta-narrative and everything works really well, and its utilization of songs, having a different song for different periods and whatever, like the Easter Parade and stuff like that, are really fun. But this film looks better and is just kind of a more welcoming film in general, mostly because there's no blackface, but also it just is fun in general. There's some great dance numbers. I would recommend it. Depends if you like Christmas musicals. On the 23rd, I watched Little Women from 1994. Yeah, it's the Christmas period. This is a DVD copy I have. I've never seen it. I prefer the Greta Gerwig film. I did enjoy it. I'm like, it's exactly the same as the Greta Gerwig film. It's just in linear fashion, not non-linear fashion. The emotional beats don't land as well for that reason. I think the development of the fact of the absence of the father, him appearing at the end of the 2019 film, works a lot better. The character who dies works a lot better in that film as well. I do really like Claire Danes in this. The cast in the 94 version are still really good. I think the relationship that Joe has with the professor is a lot better in this version. It's a lot more developed. It feels more natural. It has a more natural and satisfying ending. which I really like. I think that's the strongest part, because the first half I think is strong of all the girls being connected and whatever, even though it still feels like it's skipping a bit too much, like, because I've seen the more developed version in the 2019 version, and seen kind of better performances from different actors in the 2019 version. But you got, was it Kirsten Dunst or Kristen Dunst? I always forget how you pronounce her name. Kirsten Dunst. She's great in the first half, but then she's replaced by a different actor in the second half, because that's the Florence Pugh character in the 2019 version, where they were all just plain younger, but then when you cut to 5-6 years later, whatever, 4 years later, they're a bit older and they can act it, and it gives them more range, whereas in this you have an actual child, and then you have an actual adult, or teenager, so it has a different kind of contrast. I do think the performances are still very good, but they don't feel like the same character. So yeah. What else did we watch to top off the year? And technically, that was my 500th film of the year. If I include all the documentaries I've watched as feature films, then that was my 500th film. It's crazy. Anyway. You know, I find it really funny. I thought that at the start of this video that the thing was zoomed in. It turns out it's because I'm shooting in 1080p that it actually is a closer aperture, whereas the 4K, it's wider, which is really funny. I confuse myself that I don't realize that half the time. Anyway, what did we watch last? We watched Little Women, okay. So on the same day as Little Women, I watched Initiation, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. This one I really like. This is a 1990 Brian Usner film, which is again part of the trilogy set, which I highly recommend. Really good set. I really like this. I know, for some reason, a lot of people don't like the Silent Night, Deadly Night sequels. I think mostly because after the campy but stupid second one, which, to be fair, it's a bad film, but it's really fun. Third one, terrible. Fourth one is a completely different kind of film. It's got nothing to do with Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's clearly just we're doing a Halloween 3 season of The Witch, to the point that it's literally involving witchcraft. But I really liked it. I thought it was really compelling. The characters were great. The story was interesting. It just kept itself going. The effects are great. It's absolutely insane. This would pair really well with Naked Lunch or The Fly, fucking any Cronenberg film that is really psychedelic. And I really enjoyed it for those elements. I think because you kind of have to split it away from the franchise that it kind of is part of, that you realize that, is it really meant to be a Silent Night, Deadly Night film? And I definitely agree it shouldn't be, despite the fact that A, they watched the third one on the TV because that was a direct-to-video movie, which again is kind of funny. That's exactly like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And it is still set at Christmas. It's literally set on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So it still is a Christmas period, but again, if you want a Santa going around, well, someone dressing up as Santa and going around killing people, you're not going to get that in this film, although you don't even get that in the third one, because Ricky, despite somehow surviving in the third one, doesn't don the Christmas outfit. He just has a dome on his head instead. So this one has a completely different cast. For some reason, Clint Howard is called Ricky. Is he meant to be the same Ricky? I don't think so. He's just kind of there. He does kill a guy, though, and there's a great sequence of him killing a guy, a stabbing scene. I'm like, there are very few times you'll see stabbing scenes in movies where they seem realistic, and this is one of the first times I'm like, this actually seems really realistic. It doesn't seem gratuitous and brutal. It seems really realistic, and that makes it more harrowing. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. I think it's really good. I gave it 4 stars. But of course, the next night I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker, which I gave 3 stars, which I thought was not as good. It has a great opening scene, and the first hour after that is really, really boring. But the last act, the last 25 minutes, is absolutely insane. And outside of how I kind of saw the twist coming, the execution was really good, so it's like that really made it live up to the hype, because I'd heard people saying it like, oh, it's not great, but the ending is fantastic, and I'm like, yeah, it is. It is a really good ending. It's a good last 20-odd minutes. So I would still recommend that one, and it's still kind of part of the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. Again, it has some of the same cast from the previous film, with the same named characters, but none of them are the same people. Like, Clint Howard's still playing a guy called Ricky. There's other characters who are in the previous film, including the main character of the previous film, but she doesn't she has a kid now. There's no reference to the previous films or anything. So I'm like, is she the same person? It doesn't really matter. I think this was like almost made back to back of the previous one because Brian Usner co-wrote it and produced it, but someone else directed it. So, and it still has Screaming Mad George's practical effects, which are good in this one, but not as good or iconic as the previous one. So, yeah. But this being Christmas Eve, I also watched the final episode of Pluribus, so I can finally talk about Pluribus properly. Because when I last mentioned it, I had binged the first 6 episodes, and this is episode 7, 8, and 9. I really like Pluribus. My disappointment is the fact that we're not going to get another season for like 2 or 3 years, which sucks, because that's what TV is like these days. But I really liked it. I thought it was just really compelling. The second last episode is insane. I've seen a lot of criticism for it being slow and stuff, but I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's by the people who did Better Call Saul, and they do such a good job. So even if you don't think anything has happened in this episode, if you kind of pay attention, you realize things are happening. And it's all like character motivations and just, it's such a character drama. Like, this could be a stage play. Like, that's how minimal the amount of locations are and how it's not a big sci-fi blockbuster despite it being a science fiction show. The opening to the last episode, I think, is genuinely terrifying. I think it's the scariest sequence in the whole entire show, which is saying a lot because the first episode is breathtaking. But I think it's a great finale, and I'm really keen for another season. But again, modern TV sucks, so it's not going to happen for like 20 years. So, yeah, I don't know. I would recommend it, but I will admit my disappointment in the fact that it's just never going to get a second season for several years. Even though they Apple TV had secured, here's season 1 and 2, but season 2 hasn't started writing yet. I'm like, what are you doing? Why is TV like this? But it's a good show, so I don't want it to seem like I'm not going to recommend it based on how TV sucks these days, just in terms of production, timelines and stuff, but I would still recommend Pluribus. Anything on Apple TV is really good, usually, so, like, For All Mankind is excellent. They've got a couple really good shows. The Legacy show as well, the Monarch Legacy of Monsters is really good. Not as good, but still pretty good, so... Anyway, and then on Christmas, I watched Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, which is the Umbrella Blu-ray. I gave it 4 stars. Really beautiful film. Terribly tragic because it's set during World War II in a POW camp. The whole it being a Christmas film is very one note. It's literally just one scene. It is the most pivotal scene in the movie, and it comes back to make the final scene really, really good. But I wouldn't say it's a great Christmas film in that regard. There's no Santa, there's no tree, there's nothing like that, because again, it's literally, I mean, there's no actual Santa. No matter what Takeshi might say in the movie, he ain't exactly Father Christmas, but kind of. But I would still recommend it highly. It is on the Criterion channel. My mate had rented it, I think, on YouTube, which I would not recommend doing because the Umbrella version doesn't have subtitles burnt in. The Blu-ray is really annoying that way, where it says it has subtitles in the 5.1 track as well as a 2.0, but it only let me access the 2.0 track, and the only way I was able to get the subtitles was going into the settings on my player through my remote. So if you know how to do that, you can easily watch the film. But I watched in the Criterion, like, just check the Criterion channel, and that had the subtitles burnt in. So, yeah, it's very strange that Umbrella didn't do that. It was somehow a special hidden feature that you could activate subtitles, because they don't have it as any title menus. Their menu just has, like, plain movie scene selection, special features. Doesn't mention subtitles at all. And the subtitles are only for the Japanese parts. So you don't have subtitles for the English people, talking people, which is fine. I don't care that there's none of that, but it's just like, why is it not burnt in? Very stupid, but it didn't undermine the film at all, because I knew that going into it, because my mate Guy had again rented a copy, and it was clearly the Umbrella print, because it started with the Umbrella logo and everything. So just be wary of that if you have the Blu-ray or if you're going to watch the film, but yeah, it's still a really good film. And of course, because it's Christmas, I had to watch something that would make me insanely depressed. I watched It's a Wonderful Life. I have the 4K. I've had it for several years now. I watched that back in 2020, which is the first time I'd watched the film in several years. And I gave it 5 stars. It's a masterpiece. You can't go wrong. It's a hell of a film to watch now, because there's a whole sentiment in the film about how one person can really affect so many other people without that person noticing, and having lost people in my life since watching the film last and noticing how much those people meant to both myself and the people around me, the sentiment there is a lot more impactful. And of course, it's also meant to be a reflection on your own life, like how you are just as important to other people as they are to you. Like that you know, you're important. That even if like you didn't exist, life would be very different for other people. Like you've made an impact on people's lives, and I like to think of that as for myself as well, because it's a nice reflection for myself. Because of course, I have made that impact on people's lives personally, like in the least egotistical way possible. Not just because I make videos and I'm an influencer or whatever, but because I exist and I've made good friendships with people and whatever. So yeah, I'm not as important as George is in that film, but because that's a small town drama where he knows everyone. But yeah, so it's a very, very good film, and obviously you could watch it for Christmas. You could watch it whenever. It came out in July. You know, you don't have to watch it for Christmas, but obviously it is kind of a more pivotal time because the sentimentality reigns very true for that time of year. So anyway, what did I watch to finish off the year? On the 26th, I watched Megadoc. This is on the Criterion channel. It had its online premiere there. This is, of course, the Mike Figgis documentary about the infamous Megalopolis. While I did find interesting elements to Megalopolis, I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since I watched it in IMAX initially. My God, what a fucking picture. It was interesting watching the documentary. Again, it's only worth watching if you liked Megalopolis. And I know, one person who liked Megalopolis, and he really liked that I was able to watch the documentary, because he was like, how did you watch that documentary? So I got him onto the Criterion channel. It's so much behind-the-scenes backstabbing and crazy shit, and it's really all worth it for the stupid drama and Aubrey Plaza just being fucking awesome. So, yeah. Anyway, I followed that up with Night of the Living Dead from 1990. This is the 4K UHD uncensored cut, which I actually got on Christmas Eve. My friend had a copy, and I bought it off him, because fuck it, he had two. I don't know. And it was a lot better watching it this time. I watched it maybe a year ago, gave it 3 stars last time. This time, and that was the Umbrella theatrical cut. This time I watched the 4K UHD, of course, the uncensored cut. I gave it 4 stars. I was like, I really like it a lot this time. Knowing what the changes are, where it goes and whatever, while I still think visually it's still a bit uninspired in its filmmaking style, this one benefits by being a fucking amazing transfer and having the extra headshots. Oh my God, the blood and gore in this looks so much fucking better. It's insane. This start in black and white and then its transition to color is nice. It's much more abrupt than I was expecting, but it kind of slaps you in the face as this is a newer version, it's different. But it's the same, but different. It's still Romero's screenplay, but it's Tom Savini's directing. It's a completely different angle to the story, which works really well. The film doesn't really date itself to any time period. You can maybe say it's set in the 90s, but it's also it has that progressive mindset, which is perfectly fine. The fact that Barbara has a complete flip on her character, I think, is great. I think the cast is great. I think it works so much. I kind of think it works better than the original. Obviously, the original is still the genre staple. It is the immaculate film that it is. But I rewatched that with my partner for Halloween, and it is a lot slower. There's a lot more of just Ben talking and nothing really happening, while Barbara's just in shock the whole time. And she doesn't really do anything in the rest of the movie. I like how this one, she does. She actually has a character arc. She is the main character. I don't know, I kind of think I would be happier to rewatch this than to rewatch the original, because I'm I don't know how much more I'm going to get out of the original. I've watched it several times, I'm happy with it. I can give it a couple more years, maybe I'll watch a commentary of it, but for the most part, I think this is the version I really want to watch going forward for the foreseeable future, because I really like this version of the film. Yeah, it's just great. The characters are great. I really enjoyed it. Again, it's not better than the original, but I do kind of like it a bit more, at least currently. That sounds like sacrilege, doesn't it? But anyway, it's a good fucking film. On the 27th, I watched 4 movies. I'm going to give credit to Terry Talks Movies because of this, because he was talking about the Umbrella retro sci-fi double features that they had released over the past couple of years. They only did 6 volumes. I have 5 because one of those volumes is 2 pilots for Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers, and I could not give a less of a shit for either of those. I already have the Battlestar Galactica DVD, so I'm good. So I decided to watch The Mole People from 1956, which comes as a double feature with The Land Unknown from 1957. Mole People, really liked. I really wanted to watch this. I've been wanting to watch it for years because Universal Monsters, the Mole Person is one of those C catalogue of the Universal Monsters. Like, people tend to forget that the Mole Person and the Metalunar Mutant from This Island Earth are also Universal Monsters, because they both came out in the mid-50s, same as Creature from Black Lagoon, but the main reason that the creature is the more important one, and the more prominent, and the one that's proudly displayed, is because that movie's not an allegory for slavery. Oh my god, you literally watch This Island Earth, and you watch the Mole People, and you realize, oh, even though the Mole People are a lot more prevalent than the Metalunar Mutant, but I love the design of the Metalunar Mutant. Hell of a fucking tongue twister. Really good in that one Joe Dante movie. The mutant and the Mole Person, they're slaves. You know, that's just what it is. The films themselves are pretty generic in their story, but I still really had fun watching it. It's cheesy 50s sci-fi, you know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Surprisingly decent transfer. I think all of those Umbrella releases actually have really good transfers. Even the first volume, which has like Incredible Shrinking Man, has a great transfer. Not better than the Criterion 4K, but definitely better than the Arrow Video version. Which is annoying because the Arrow Video one has all the special features. I don't have the Criterion yet. And there was another film in there as well. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Hold on. Tarantula, which I think Tarantula, I had an old Blu-ray, which 101 Films released. It doesn't matter. It was a shitty release. The Umbrella one was better despite no special features. Anyway, Mole People, good. I would recommend it. Land Unknown, not bad. It's fine. It's a lot more. I like, because these are black and white films, that its utilization of optical effects works really well, because there's a lot of times, especially in Land Unknown, where you'll have, you know, stop motion creatures that aren't really stop motion. It's a person in a fucking tarantula suit. And, you know, the kind of green screen, or not even green screen, just like a tiny person here and a big, like, matte painting or whatever, and people walking around, and it looks great in black and white. I'd love to do a video about that at some stage. But this one was fine. It was enjoyable. I thought it was fun. I gave it 2.5 stars. I'm like, it's alright, you know. It's, again, if you like that kind of thing of people getting trapped in a place and having to fight off some monsters, it gets a bit repetitive. And then you move on. And I'm like, I don't know, they kind of did this better in the 70s. There's a lot of great 70s films like the Land That Time Forgot and whatever. And I'm like, it's the same as that, but the 70s ones are a bit better. I enjoyed the 70s ones more. More colour, more characters, more creatures, that kind of stuff. For some reason, I don't know what happened to me, I was suddenly in the mood to watch Minions. Yeah, okay, you can unsubscribe, I get it, it's fine, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I'm not giving it 5 stars, so maybe hold back on the unsubscribe button. Just calm down for a second. So, my brother has had this on Blu-ray for years. I've never watched it. I watched the first Despicable Me when I was a child, because that's when it came out, when I was a child. I'm young, hi, it sucks, I'm old now. And the rest of them came out. All the sequels, the Minions movies, I never watched any of that shit. By the time this movie came out, this was 2015, I was in high school. By that stage, animated films were for children. Even though this movie literally is, but it ruined the fact that I didn't watch Toy Story. Kind of ironic, because I'm pretty sure Toy Story 3 came out the same year as Despicable Me. I don't know what happened there. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Despicable Me was 2008 or something, but nevertheless. Maybe it was, actually. I think it was like 2008, and then like 2012 was the second one, and the Minions was 2015. So, yeah, okay. By 2010, I'd stopped watching animated films, because they were for babies, and I'm not a baby, I'm a teenager. Anyway, stupid idea. I thought it was fun. I mean, it won me over because they had a kaiju at the end. I always like kaijus, always great. I know it's just one of the characters turned into a giant minion. He's a minion and he becomes gigantic. It's fine, it's whatever, it's cute, whatever. I'm happy with it. They did the same thing in Turning Red, except that movie's actually really good. And this was just fun. I just felt like some dumb, stupid shit that would make me laugh, and It did. I thought it was amusing. It's not the funniest thing in the world. It's not the best thing in the world. I don't really need to defend myself here. They talk like a mixture of French and Italian, and it's very weird, but it's funny because it's like it's all the same guy, and he's also directing the movie, which is very strange. My mate mentioned after the fact, isn't it funny how they just completely avoid the whole Hitler thing? And I'm like, oh yeah, because they're just trapped in an ice cave for like a couple centuries, and they just or a couple, maybe 100 years or whatever after Napoleon, they just completely wash over the whole Nazi thing. I'm like, oh, okay, that was a thing. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it's the kind of movie where it definitely seems like the guy who wrote it, Brian Lynch, just wanted to make a movie that would get his kids to listen to the Beatles, because he's born in the 70s, so clearly this is the music of his childhood, which meant that he's in his 40s by the time, because my dad was born in the 60s, so I know that he would have been in his 50s when this movie came out, so my dad would never have seen this fucking movie, so obviously this is the guy who's in his 40s, who has kids, and he wants his kids to listen to Beatles music, but he knows they're not going to listen to Beatles music because that's dad's music. Nobody likes their dad's music. I know, because I didn't like my dad's music for a long time. So clearly he's used this movie, setting it in the 60s, so you get the Kinks, you get the Rolling Stones, you get the Who, and you get Hair as well. I mean, sure, 1967, whatever. The movie's set in 68, and you get a couple Beatles songs. There's several Beatles songs. The Minions cover a Beatles song in the end credits. They cover Revolution. This whole movie is not designed to make a fuck ton of money, even though it was, even though it's literally cancer as a movie. I know, but this movie was just made so Brian Lynch could get his kids to listen to the Beatles music. That's it. That's the only reason this movie exists. Anyway, then I watched The Monolith Monsters, another of the Umbrella releases. From 1957. I enjoyed this one more than Land Unknown. I'd say I maybe enjoyed it more than The Mole People. It's toss and turn. It was more tense. The monolith monsters aren't monsters. They're just like crystals that grow from rain from an asteroid, whatever. And it's basically coming down a valley to destroy a whole entire town. It also petrifies you if it expands in someone's presence. So they use the petrifying thing is very small in the film, but they do use it to actually find the cure for how to destroy these things, which I did like. I thought that was a fun aspect because I was expecting more petrified people, but instead they went, no, we're actually going to use this so we can do a payoff in the final act, and I really kind of dug this. All these movies are like 80 minutes, including Minions. That's why I watched 4 of them, because they're like 77 to 80 minutes long. It's fucked. I cannot believe how short these movies are. I know Minions is probably actually 90 minutes. It is, but you don't need to watch the credits, but it is a kids movie, so they do play things during the credits. But still, the plot ends at the 80-minute mark. The story ends. It cuts to black at the 80-minute mark. On the 28th, I watched The Deadly Mantis. I did not like this one. This one was mostly B-roll stock footage of military planes and flying and shit, with poor dubbing. They find a papier-mâché praying mantis, which in all respects actually looks great. You could just watch like 10 minutes of the scenes of the mantis, and you'd be like, man, this film's great. But then if you watch any of the rest of it, you're like, yeah, this film's really bad. It's like the classic kaiju thing, which some Godzilla films are guilty of doing this. It's perfectly fine, it happens. It's a stereotype. It's the cliche narrative of your main characters are reporter, scientist, military person. They have to discover what problem is. Meanwhile, problem keeps happening, so problem is monster keeps attacking. Are they showing the monster attacking? No, they don't. They don't show the monster until 50 minutes in. Holy shit. 50 fucking minutes, maybe 45 in like a 70-minute long film. Like I said, there's like 10 minutes of runtime that is this mantis. The rest of it is not the mantis. And it's dull, boring characters. Yeah. The 3 times the mantis does show up when it attacks the base, when it flies around Washington for some fucking reason. It attacks a bus. This bus scene's pretty great. And then it's just in New York, in a tunnel. And it's just like, okay, I could fall asleep by this stage. It kind of sucks. Pretty weak. I gave it a 1.5 stars. Can't say I was big on it. And then I watched The Life of Chuck on the 29th. That was a Blu-ray release, which I liked the film. I'm not going to spoil it because it is a newer film. It's very interesting in its narrative style. It starts from Act 3 and then goes from there, like Act 3, Act 2, Act 1. I personally really liked Act 3. It's depressing narrative, ultra realistic kind of shit of like, oh wow, this is literally the world we're living in right now, but like the internet's going and the world is dying, and all I could think of when one character joked about how Pornhub was down was that, oh my god, if there's no internet, there's no AI. Oh wow, that would be such a good world, even though it's literally the apocalypse. The rest of the movie is very different. And it's still good, but it was going for a much more kind of optimistic in touches, which I wasn't really in the mood for, but I still thought, maybe one day I'll come back to this and be able to reflect on it better. To be fair, it is a movie that I kind of was a bit dour on, not because I didn't like the film, but because Scott Wampler is in it, and it's dedicated to his memory as well, because he died in 2024 while they were making it. And he's only in one background scene, and he's a voice actor in one scene on a radio, because him and Eric Vespi did that Kingcast podcast, and of course that was about Stephen King films and adaptations and whatever. I never listened to that show. I actually never read any of his articles or any of that stuff. I have a commentary that he did on Silver Bullet, I think it is, the Scream Factory 4K, I believe it is, or maybe it's Kino 4K, but either way, he did a commentary on that. I'm still yet to listen to it. I have the Australian Blu-ray as well, because Lee Gambin worked on that. He did, I think, a video essay for it. Actually, no, he worked on the interviews, but still, it's more or less the fact that they died in a week from each other, Lee Gambin and Scott Wampler. And I followed Scott on Twitter for years, back when I used to use Twitter. He was the reason I stayed around on Twitter whilst it was being run by Nazis. And then when he died, I'm like, I don't need this anymore, because the only reason I was really here was for occasional movie updates, which, to be fair, go on Reddit. Maybe equally as bad, but you can manage it a lot better. And yeah, and Scott Wampler, and I really liked Scott Wampler, and he was really funny, and he was the kind of tweets, like, I started following him because his profile picture was a creature from Black Lagoon. I understand that, but he was really amusing as a person, and sure, there's obviously so much of his catalogue that I have not even accessed, which is on me, but it really still hit me when I was watching this, that I'm like, man, it kind of sucks, because I really enjoyed him as a person, even though I was someone in Australia who never contacted the guy. He had no idea I existed. I was just a fan of his tweets, and I felt really like sad when he died. And this is a week after one of my friends died, someone who I looked up to, who was a mentor figure, who they were very similar, Lee and Scott, where they were both passionate film people, but also they both loved Stephen King, and they had so many things that related, to the point that they had friends that were mutuals. My friend Alexandra was friends with both of them, and it's just weird to watch the film because I know that he's in it, and I did see him in the background of one scene. I kind of hope that he was in more, but he's just a background actor for one scene. And yeah, it's really nice that the film was dedicated to him, and it's the main reason I wanted to get the Blu-ray. I didn't get to see it in cinema because it was pretty shit to get to the cinema this year. And yeah, so I would recommend the film, though. It's very interesting. It is very dark, though, so maybe don't be in a bad mood or a depressed mood when you watch it. It's meant to be a more uplifting film, but it kind of is a film about how everyone dies and we only have certain moments in life that give us true life, that gives us true happiness. So it's kind of meant to be optimistic, but at the same time it's like such a pessimistic film at the same time. But it's kind of a bit of both. It's meant to get you to appreciate life, because you never know when it's going to end, even if you do know that it's going to end. And it's very interesting. That's what's so great about the first act's story and the rest of the film story, and how they contrast in the knowing versus the not knowing. And then I watched Shrinking Season 1 on Apple TV, because I figured I'm subscribed, I might as well watch it. And Season 3 comes out in like a month, I think February, and Season 2 came out in 2024, so I'm like, cool, I've got another 10 episodes I can watch, because TV shows are only fucking 10 episodes, but this is 10 really well-written, half-an-hour episodes, and I really liked it. I'd heard it was good, I'd heard that Harrison Ford was good in it, so I figured, I'll chuck it on, whatever. And I'm watching, like, man, this show is actually really interesting. Like, it's both a good discussion of grief and mental health, but it's also just really funny, and the characters are great, and it's really fun to watch these characters exist together. And the whole first season was great. I watched it within like 3 days because I don't like to binge watch. I watch like 2 episodes a day, and then today I'm like, fuck it, I'm going out for New Year's. I gotta just binge the rest of the season. I don't need to. I could have waited like 2 days, but I didn't want to. It was just that good. So I would recommend it. And now let's jump into what I finished the year off, and then we're in the new year. So yeah, let's do that. All right, cool. I'll see you in a couple of days. Oh. Hi. Okay, we're filming this last part in my room because I figured I can do that now. Yeah, I got rid of the green screen. Look, I got posters. I'm a real film nerd. Look at that. Posters of those two movies that people like, and a bookshelf. Wow. Wow, look at the bookshelf. The last two movies we did for New Year's Eve, we did New Year's Evil. Posters right there. This one was underwhelming. It's a 1980s slasher film, like 1980 exactly. It benefits from having a very interesting killer and some fun kills, but for the most part, it's not too great. I gave it 2.5 stars. It definitely sticks to the whole bit of it's set on New Year's Eve and the guy has to kill someone every single hour because every hour is New Year's Day for some other part of the country because it's America, of course, from the East Coast to the West Coast is different time zones. But yeah, it's so 80s. The main bulk of the movie is in a like TV studio that's mocked up as like a nightclub thing for them doing a New Year special. It's okay. I mean, sure, I guess if you double featured it with Terror Train, you probably get a decent double feature out of it. But Terror Train's the better one to go for. There's a lot of better New Year's set slashes, but this one's at least semi decent. The twist is pretty predictable, but I don't know. I watched it with my partner and her mum, and my partner fell asleep. Her mum was like, "Why does he keep killing people?" I'm like, "Because it's a slasher movie. That's the whole point." So that was fun. But then we finished it off with the Muppet movie from 1979, which I gave 4.5 stars. This is one I introduced to Helene for the first time. She's never seen it. She was actually awake for this one. Her mother fell asleep because I went to her place, and they have a lot of fireworks, illegal fireworks in the area, which is wonderful. Just what you want when you're trying to watch movies. So it's only the 8th time. This is the 7th time, 6th time this has happened. Who cares? 6th time. So yeah, Muppet movie. It's great. It's my 2nd time watching it. I got the Blu-ray in literally the day before. So that'll be part of whatever the next haul video is. And yeah, just had fun. Helene never seen it, so that was really fun. She enjoyed it. The Blu-ray has a weird thing where when you pause it, it'll give you the option of paused screen or an intermission, and the intermission is just they play animated versions of the musical numbers, which is really fun. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm like, wow, this is so for kids, but I like that I have this on Blu-ray now, so who really cares? And that's what I wanted to end the year with. So I did that. So yeah. Anyway, that's all of 2025 done. It's now time for 2026, so I'll see you kids in a month when I do my what I watched in January, because I guess I can still make these videos. I do like doing them. There'll be a channel update in a couple of days' time, talking about some heavy shit, and then that's it. I won't be filming again in this room. Probably not. I have to hold it with my arm, the camera. It's very heavy. So anyway, hope you kids enjoyed, had a fun time, and didn't unsubscribe when I said that I watched Minions. Outside of that, thanks for watching. I'll see you kids next time. Bye! Ooh.